Today we're going to be working with how to send HL7 messages over TCP IP to an HL7 listener. We're going to do this using the core HL7 sender, and in this video we're going to first download and install the software and then activate it with a demo license. We will then test sending HL7 messages to both a local and a remote HL7 listener. We will then purchase a permanent license and demonstrate activating it, and finally install and run the Microsoft Windows service. All this is just going to take a few quick minutes. First thing we want to do is navigate to our website, www.transworldscribe.com, and if you don't already have a Hermetic account, you can simply scroll to the bottom and use the create an account link to make one. Just 5 required fields. It's really fast and easy, and we don't need one to download the software, but we will need one to activate the demo license. So we're going to head to the downloads page, and we're using the core HL7 TCP IP sender. So if we download that, we can open it up and just simply follow along with the prompts to install. And once that's done, if everything has gone right, we should be able to go to the desktop and find a new shortcut like this. Okay, now we're ready to activate, so just open up the program and it will show us that there's no license, which we know, so we can click the license button and select that we would like to activate a demo license. We click OK. It'll ask us to log in, so enter your login details here. We can log in and then select activate, and it's all done. We have downloaded it, installed it, and now activate it. So we're ready to move on to creating our profile and testing sending messages. To create a new profile, we simply click new in the toolbar and we can start filling out our details. In our example, we want to send to Kai Taia Hospital using port 6000, so we'll fill those details in here. Initially, we'll use this local computer just to make sure everything is working properly, and eventually we'll move on to sending to a remote computer. The rest of these settings we can leave as default, and we just want to go to data folder and open this up and select your data folder. For us, we'll select this call sender Kai Taia folder. And once you've done that, you can come down and enable a profile, Windows Service Instance 1, but your service won't be able to run until we've purchased a license. We'll go to the advanced settings just to show a few things. So you can see by default, it will optimize the HL7 messages, it'll trim any empty fields, it will also replace the message control ID, but only if it's blank. The rest you can leave or play with as you need. If you do need to edit these, you'll find out because your trading partner, whoever's receiving the HL7 message, will tell you. So we can just click OK to finish creating the profile. That's all done and we're ready to run it. Before we can run it, we have to do a few things. First thing I'm going to show is the global settings, so just click on this globe in the toolbar. There's only 3 sections here. Section 1, do you want to archive the messages that you send out and or the acknowledgements that you receive back? I don't particularly want to in this case, so I'll uncheck those 2 boxes. The second section, system log level, by default it's medium, relevant, and section 3, how to purge files. 10 days older, 30, 60, 90, 180, whatever you want. The files that will be purging will be archives, system logs, and traffic logs. The next thing to do, since we're sending on this local host on port 6000, is we need to set up some sort of listener to receive the messages. So in our case, we're going to use our UltraPort ad hoc HL7 listener program. This is a completely free program you can download from our website, www.transworldscribe.com, and we're going to set it to listen on port 6000, and then we can go and start the session, and then set it to listen. Start listening. There we go. Now we can go back to core HL7 sender and click run, and then start, and it'll start. But the first thing we notice is that nothing's happening. That's because there's nothing in the data folder we specified earlier, so there's nothing to send. So we need to put some messages in that folder. So to do that, we're going to use our free Core HL7 viewer program. I've loaded it up here with 18 demo messages, and I'm going to export these into the data folder for Kaitaia Hospital. I can click OK, and do I want to open the folder? I'm going to select no, and instantly we can see the HL7 sender has updated. It has picked up those messages and delivered them. It sent 18 messages, so if we open the HL7 listener, we can see it received 18 messages and sent 18 acknowledgements back. If we click stop listening, we can see all the results, all of the messages it received, and all of the acknowledgements that it sent back. So we know testing locally has worked fine. For the next step, we're going to need to first buy a license, then apply that license, and then we'll install the Windows services, make sure that that service works properly, and once we've done all that, we'll be able to send to a remote listener and test that. To purchase a license, we're going to use the Core HL7 License Manager. This is free software you can download from our website, transworldscribe.com, and you can install it anywhere. It doesn't have to be installed on the same computer as the software you're activating, but once you do have it installed, we can open it up and log in to our account. So just enter your login details. Once that's loaded, it will show you all of your licenses. So you can see all the licenses here. In our case, we would like to purchase a Core HL7 TCP/IP Sender Professional license. You can see on my account I've previously purchased two, but I've used both of them. That's why you can see that hand symbol. So if I want to purchase another, we can go up to the top here and click Shop Now. So I want Core HL7 Permanent TCP/IP. We can see all the options there, and yep, that's the one I want. And in this case, I'll only pay 480 instead of 600, as there are automatic discounts applied if you own multiple licenses, as I do. So we can add that to cart. It's in our shopping cart. I only want to buy one, so we can leave the quantity as it is and submit the order. We can add a note to the order if we want, anything, please hurry, and then click submit. Order has been submitted, and now we'll wait for customer service to produce the invoice and send it to me, let me get that paid and all that, and then we'll be able to activate it. Once the invoice has been paid, I'm able to go to the license manager and refresh and see, yes, I now have one additional license for Sender Professional that I'm able to use that hasn't been activated, so I can go back to Core HL7 Sender and open that up. We can now go File, Activate Permanent License, license I've purchased, and we can now log into our Humatech account to see all of our available licenses. So just fill in your login details, log in, we can see our license that we purchased there, we can select Activate. It'll tell us that if we use this up, we won't have any left. Do we want to continue? Yes, we do. And the license has been activated and saved. So we can now see we have HL7 Sender with a permanent professional license with up to 25 connections. We can now install the Windows service, so click Install Services. We can then select Start, and we would now be running as a Windows service. So we can open the ad hoc listener and start the session and start listening again. And then if we go back to the HL7 viewer, we can again export those 18 demo messages to the Kaitaia Hospital folder. Do I want to view? No. And right away we can see that those 18 messages were picked up by the service and delivered to the listener. So it's all done and all working when running as a service. So the next steps will be how to set up to send to a remote listener. To set up to send to a remote listener, we need to enter the IP address as the destination. And to do that, we need to edit the profile. If we try and edit the profile now, it will inform us we can't because the service is currently running. So the first thing we need to do is stop the service. Once the service is stopped, we can edit the profile. We first want to specify that the listener is running on another computer and then we can enter the TCP IP address here. Once we've done that, there's a button at the bottom here, ping the listener. We can use that to check that there actually is a listener running at that IP address we've specified on that port. And if we continue, we can check, yes, success, there is, so we can click OK to save the profile. Now if we start the center service, that should be running, and if we open the data folder by using this icon in the toolbar, we're just doing that so we can actually see the messages as they go out. So if we open up the core viewer again and export those demo messages once again, export them to the Kaitaia Hospital data folder, we can see that the service sees them, picks them up, puts them in the queue, and they're gone. Those messages have been completely delivered to the remote listener. Here's an example of what your core HL7 sender might look like. I have 6 profiles set up. They're all running in different services. I have 2 private services running, and it's that easy. You just need to create profiles, add them, enable them, and start them. And just before we finish, I want to discuss a couple very common troubleshooting situations and issues you might encounter. So scenario number 1 is when you're able to send your messages to a local listener, but the communications fail when you try and send to a remote listener. If that happens, the issue will be somewhere in the firewall or VPN between the 2 computers. So investigate that a little bit, ensure it isn't your firewall before you contact your trading partner and inform them that they have an issue with their firewall. And a second very common situation is when you can send messages successfully when you're running locally, but the messages fail to send when you're running as a Windows service. If this happens, the issue is likely to be with inadequate user rights for the Windows service. So we can check this by configuring the Windows service to run as your Windows login. And if that works, and it should, you know that you then need to create a domain user for the Windows service to use so it has the correct permissions to send all the messages. And for any further questions on these scenarios or anything else, you can refer to the online help. Thank you, that's our video for today.